Hi, I'm Mike Morse. Welcome to another episode of Open Mic. Today we're talking bail and how bad it is. We're talking to two young ladies, Diebboll and Asia Johnson, who are working as bail disruptors right here in Detroit. And if you have a loved one sitting in jail waiting trial and the bail is under $5,000, these ladies will get out that person today or tomorrow at no charge to you. Stay tuned to learn more about this interesting and fascinating organization.
Joining us this morning is Mike Morse, Detroit's top attorney. Mike Morse is in here to tell us about the backpack giveaway.
Adapt and change things up a little bit every year. Hi, I'm Mike Morse. Welcome to another episode of Open Mic. Today, we are talking to Diebboll and Asia Johnson from the Bail Project. Did I pronounce that okay?
You did. I'm
All
really
right.
impressed.
So, welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
So, let me tell you what I know about bail. My listeners, my watchers know that we're diving into the criminal justice system. We're ripping it apart. We're talking to lots of people. We've spent a lot of time on innocent projects and wrongful convictions and exonerations, and that has led me to you guys. I came across a Bail Project a month or so ago. I called you. I've been watching the videos that are on your main website. We've met and talked, and bail in America is really messed up. And I don't do a lot of criminal defense work, so I'm not in that arena, but it is horrifying, the numbers. You know, one of the numbers that really impressed me are that any given night in America, there's 450 to 500,000 people sitting in jail, presumed innocent, waiting for the next step in the process. And bail is being used wrongly. I talked to a very high-level criminal defense attorney in Washtenaw County yesterday, John Shea, who was, going on and on about that bail seems to be something that judges just have been doing for so long. It's just a pro forma thing. Of course there's going to be bail, even if the person isn't a flight risk. And you guys have proven, because of your model, that it's not the money that brings him back to court. And we're going to get into that. And we're going to get into all the good work that you're doing. But another interesting thing that grabbed my attention was that based upon all of the thousands of cases, you guys have helped over 11,000 people get out, but there's hundreds of thousands of more going through the system every day. And that if somebody's denied bail or can't afford bail, they're 92% going to take a plea. Correct?
Correct.
You're allowed to talk.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not. And if they get out on bail, if you guys help them get out, or they have enough money to get out, or the judge lets them out on their own recognizance, then they only plead guilty 50% of the time.
Right. Yeah, when you break it down with the numbers, it really hits home for a lot of people and shows just how big this issue is.
So there's a lot of movement, especially since the George Floyd killing, with a focus on bail. The Bail Project is now in how many cities?
22.
Okay, including Detroit. And it's a new organization, about 2 years old.
Yes.
And, I could go on and on, but first tell me what the Bail Project is, and let's start there.
So the Bail Project is a national nonprofit that aims to end mass incarceration on the front end by paying bail for those who can't afford to pay it for themselves, or their friends or family or loved ones don't have the resources to pay their bail. And the numbers that you just read off, people are losing their livelihoods after spending just one night, 2 nights in jail. You may lose your job, which means you can't pay your rent or your mortgage, which means now you're in danger of losing your family, your children. And why is this happening? It's not fair. It's not fair that somebody who has the money can pay their bail and walk free and fight their case from home, while somebody who's poor has to sit in jail until they have their day in court. And it's the criminalization of poverty.
It definitely puts a big light on the unfairness of the criminal justice system if you have money or don't have money. I mean, this really brings it home, because you ladies told me over our first meeting that you've had to bail out people and the bail was set at $1.
Yep. During COVID, we saw a lot of bonds being placed down to $1, but a lot of our clients can't even afford that. Like, it just shows too that, mass incarceration really affects like poverty.
Do the judges realize? I wonder if the judges realize they might be saying, okay, it's not even a bond, it's $1. The fact that you've had to do, was it only one or more than one? Is it more than one?
It was more than one. We even had some, I saw a lot of $10 bonds too.
What is a judge thinking when they put a $1 or $10 bond? If somebody's homeless or somebody's really, really poor, and they don't have $1 or $10, they're going to sit in prison, they're going to sit in jail. Jail is everything under a year. Prison's everything over a year, just teaching our listeners. Mm-hmm. And how much do we spend a day or a night on a jail cell for a person? Do you guys know that number?
No.
I've read it. It's even if it's $20, $30, $40 a day. It's something like that, right?
It adds up.
It adds up. It's $1 billion problem, but they're spending more on housing this person and feeding this person than just letting him go home.
Yeah. And then something else I want to bring up too is, even if they have a $1 bond, many of our clients also have tether or a GPS monitoring, which costs them every month. So, if some people can even pay that $1 bond, then they're even having to pay their GPS tethering every month, and it starts to add up. Like you're saying, all these costs, it really impacts a lot of people's lives.
And if you're homeless and you require GPS tethering, you're going to sit in jail because you don't have anywhere for them to monitor where you're located, that you don't have a home to tether to. So you're sitting in jail simply because of poverty.
Right. Which is a massive problem, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Other statistics, people held in jail before trial, they're not home with their family for support, they're not meeting with their lawyer on a regular basis, are 30% more likely to plead guilty than those detained. And those detained for the entire period are 4 times more likely to receive a jail sentence. So all the statistics show that these people need to be home with the support and love of their family. They need to be home to meet with their lawyers on a regular basis. Absolutely. Not sitting in jail.
Right.
And bail is being used wrong because these people aren't jail risks. So let's talk about this. Over 90% of the people that you guys help come back to court.
Yes.
And you get the bail back again. So I guess I'm jumping the shark here because I know what you guys do. So tell me what the Bail Project does here in Detroit.
Yeah, so what we do is we go in...
Get you a little closer.
We go into local jails. We operate out of Wayne County and Washtenaw County, and we do an intake form with our clients to see what their needs are. And so that way we can really work on the community release model. So it doesn't just stop when we pay their bail. So we go through the intake form with them, pay the bail. That can take... It's a process. It can take up to 1 or 2 days to do that.
But when you say pay the bail, what do they have to give you for you to pay their bail?
Nothing.
They give us nothing as far as financially, but when we do the interview with them, we are taking an assessment of what their needs are. And so, for example, Joe has substance abuse issues, and maybe that led to his arrest. We are going to make sure that he has the resources that he needs in place to address that issue. Say Samantha doesn't have transportation to and from court. We're going to make sure she has a Lyft ride to and from court. But not only court, she may have a job interview. She may have a job. She may have to get her child to childcare. We're going to make sure that she has the transportation to get where she needs to go.
Wow. So it's a whole holistic approach. You're not just getting them out of jail and walking away. You're staying connected with these people to make sure their lives are going okay, make sure they have a good lawyer, and make sure they show back up in court.
Yes.
So the model of the Bail Project is that you've gotten lots of donations over the years. The mothership Bail Project in New York has set up 22 other offices. Your office has enough money right now to bail out people, and you've told me you've also done Oakland County and other counties. So if anybody's listening to this and you have a loved one in jail and you can't afford the bail, you call the Bail Project in Detroit.
Yes.
We'll put their information on the show notes, and they will pay bail up to $5,000, right?
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
So these could be for almost any crime, and the only stipulation is what? What won't you give bail for?
We take everything on an individual case-by-case basis because we realize that these are unique individuals with, unique circumstances. We think that if the judge has set the bail, they believe that this person, if they have the money, should be released. And so we're essentially going by what the judge has ordered. We are charge agnostic. So we're not making decisions solely based on what they're charged with.
Interesting. But you did tell me at our first meeting that if the person is charged, if they've been charged with this thing 3 times, or this is their 3rd or 4th charge, you're not bailing out that person.
Yes.
That's a hard and fast rule.
And that is mostly because of resources or a lack of resources in the community. Say someone has a 3rd domestic violence charge. If we can't get that person in anger management, if we can't know for sure that this person is not going to return to the home that he shares with the alleged victim, we're trying to keep everyone safe. And to keep everyone safe, sometimes we do have to say, no, we can't post bail for you.
Okay, but for the most part, you're helping 98% of the people who call with a $5,000 or less bail.
Yes.
At no cost to them or their family.
Right.
And over 90% of the people come back to court, even though it wasn't their money, they come back to court and go through the process.
Yes. And a lot of times people miss court for reasons that are beyond, what they can control.
It's like
Maybe they've
transportation.
moved.
Yeah.
Maybe they've moved and the court notice goes to the wrong address. They don't have anybody to call them and remind them like, hey, you have court on Friday. So we give out those court reminders as well. And we stay connected with their public defender. And all of our clients do have public defenders. And sometimes the public defender is hard. They have a large caseload. But if they see an email from one of us, they will respond and let us know when this person's next court date is. And then we can contact the client and let them know.
So from my research, it's just a fact that the bail amount, the dollar amount, no matter who's giving the money, is not the driver to get these people back in the courts. It's their own personal wanting to come back to do what's right.
Yes.
So the way the Bail Project works is that you guys have all these donations. You give out $5,000, $1,000, whatever it is. It sits out there for the 1, 2, 3, 4 months until this person needs to come back to court. Once they come back to court, you guys get the money back.
Yes.
And then you get to help somebody else.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
So
pay
that
it
money
forward.
can be used 2, 3, 4 times a year.
Yes.
The same money.
The same money keeps working.
So if somebody has money, extra money out there, and they want to help, they should go to the Bail Project and donate.
Absolutely. We've received about $16 million in the last month or two from over 200,000 people.
Wow.
And that money is going to help us out big time and for a long time.
That's amazing. So let's talk about, what an interesting job. They call you guys Bail Disruptors. What does that mean?
We are disrupting and hoping to completely dismantle the injustice of the cash bail system.
We essentially want to put ourselves out of a job and then cash bail.
And that's happening around the country. There are certain cities where the judges are not setting bail unless the person is, really shouldn't be out on the streets. Which I never understood that, if the person's violent or shouldn't be out on the streets, why should they get any bail? So if they have so you said $100,000 bail. Well, so if that person has a rich uncle and they get out on $100,000, aren't they still just as dangerous as the guy that they set $1,000 bail for? I don't get that.
It's about the money.
It's about the money. So the rich people are getting out. Poor people are staying in jail, even if they're not at risk, even if they should be out. The people are the judges are using bail wrong.
Yes.
And then this just continues the cycle of poverty. It fuels into that as well.
So Megan, why are you doing what you're doing?
I am doing what I'm doing. I've had loved ones incarcerated, and that leads to my passion for this job. I also just want to emphasize this doesn't just affect the person incarcerated. It affects family members. It affects the community. It affects all that. So it's, it's really important to me to get these people home because I see, people I know, the stories I've seen growing up, And I know I'm not alone in this either. I know there's tons of people that have similar stories.
And you're doing this until you're out of a job, and then you're going to go on to something else.
Yep, that's
which
the plan.
it's an amazing thing. Asia Johnson, same question to you. Why are you doing what you're doing?
A few years ago, I was reading a magazine, and it had 2 life-changing articles in it, and one was about Khalif Browder. And Khalif Browder was a young man in New York. He was a juvenile. He was under 18, and he was accused of stealing a book bag, and he had a couple $100 bond. He didn't have it. His family didn't have it. He got transferred to Rikers Island, where he was assaulted and abused and treated very poorly. Eventually, he was released, having not been convicted of anything. And he had a lot of support from people like Jay-Z, Rosie O'Donnell. He had a lot of people behind him, but that trauma that he experienced while inside just haunted him, and he ended up committing suicide. And that story stuck with me for a very long time, and I would talk about it. And one day, my best friend Tara said, "You know that story you told me about?" She was like, "There's a job opening for an organization called the Bail Project, and they pay bail." And I would talk about Khalif Browder because mental health issues are another passion of mine. And so knowing the trauma that people experience while they're in jail, even just for a night, I wanted to end that. And when I saw the job posting for the Bail Project, I said, I have to do this. This is going to end mass incarceration if we can stop it pre-trial. And so that's why I do what I do.
Wow. And you realize you're trying to put yourself out of a job too.
Yes.
And you're good with that.
I am definitely okay with that.
Such an interesting model. So are you finding that Detroiters are able to find you, know about you? Are you having an identification crisis? What do people need to know? How do they find you? Because, when you Google bail, you guys don't come up first, and there's a lot of people charging to give bail. So I guess that's probably a better question. So you see all these bail bond agencies. They're not nonprofit like you are. So how does that work? How does that system work? Do you know?
So bail bonds agents are very predatory. They prey on the poor. And a lot of people who call us will say, they make the mistake of thinking that we operate like a bail bonds agent. So they say the bond was set at $10,000 and you can pay 10%, which is $1,000. But if you pay the $100 to pay the bail bonds agent, then that person can come home. But we don't work like that. And so having to explain how we work is something that we have to do daily. And the way that bail bonds agents work is that they can take everything from you. If you put up your house and that person doesn't return to court, and that money is never returned to the client. Whereas with us, they pay no money to us and we get that money back. And so the fact that bail bonds agents are like, they have the money to pay for advertising, commercials, billboards, spots on Google, and we don't work like that. And I do wish that we had the resources to advertise like that, but we just don't.
And something I was going to say too is bail bondsmen are all around the jail. So, and the court. So as soon as you go to the court, you get your bail, you come out and you see the bail bondsman. Like the family's like, okay, that's where we're going, one-stop shop. So yeah, I would definitely wish we had more money to put us on billboards or even like have signs around the jails and courts to know that we're here.
Absolutely. And I remember having a conversation with one of the officers in the jail who told me that bail bonds agents have signage inside of the jails where potential clients can see that, and we don't have that.
Well, we're going to have to fix that. I'm going to help you guys get the word out. We're going to get you some great social media channels up, maybe even a billboard or two. We got to get the word out because not only are you going to end bail, you should end the bail bond agency business. And
absolutely,
I don't know why anybody would call a bail bond agency for something under $5,000 and not just call you guys, because you have money. You have money sitting at the bank. If anybody's watching this, you should be calling the Bail Project.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at some of these statistics. Taxpayers are spending an estimated $14 billion a year annually, right? A year to house people before trial. These are innocent people for no reason, just because they can't afford bail.
And just imagine if that was just even 50% less, where that money could go.
It's mind blowing.
Mind blowing, yeah.
Like these are innocent people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the judges say, you can go home. You just got to give me $500 or $1,000 or $2,000.
And it is,
and that's why, in the statistics show that black and brown people account for more than 50% of the pretrial population nationwide, and up to 90% in some jurisdictions. And there again is the money differential. Rich people are getting out, poor people are staying in, and imagine. One of the guests we've had on the story that I think we can all imagine and put ourselves in the shoes is if you're sitting in a jail cell, one of the most probably, and I've visited clients in jail, but a very disgusting environment, sticky floors, no privacy. Go on and on for the horror show. And a prosecutor comes to you and says, you want to go home? Yeah, I want to go home. Well, just plead guilty to a lesser crime and we'll get you out of here tonight. That's why 92% of people are pleading guilty to crimes they didn't commit. Doesn't matter at that point. They're just wanting to get the hell out of there. And only 50% are pleading guilty eventually, which shows that at least 42% are just pleading guilty to get the hell out of jail.
Right. And I wonder what those numbers look like now during the pandemic. You want to get out of jail because there is no such thing as social distancing in jail. And so you're willing to say anything.
But you guys think that the jails, though, have done a decent job. You told me of the jails are, I don't want to say on the empty side right now, but there's not a lot of people sitting in jail right now with a reasonable bail that are just sitting there.
Right. They have done administrative releases, not as quickly, as thoroughly, and as in mass like we'd like to see, but they are working towards decarceration during the pandemic.
I think it's just the conditions of the jail is also what we're mainly concerned about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have done a good job of doing some public administrative releases, but like you said too, the conditions are just bad. And if you have underlying conditions, and then you get COVID, like that's just a death sentence that you don't deserve, especially
Absolutely.
in jail.
And even I think in the beginning, initially they were trying to get people out. But now it's like we've become accustomed to the pandemic. This is kind of the new normal. And they aren't rushing to let people out. Like we're still getting referrals for people who have a bond of $1,000. We're still getting people in Washtenaw County. I posted bail for a young man who was there for $200. And he was a juvenile. So you're keeping this young man in this dark, dirty jail during a pandemic for $250.
I don't get it. So tell me some impactful, each of you give me one impactful story of somebody you've helped, somebody who shouldn't have been there, somebody whose life you made a difference for, and it ended up having a good result by getting him out, who wouldn't have had a good result if you weren't there.
Yeah, actually, it was a few months ago I bailed out a young man. We were, in contact about reminders, transportation. And this week I actually got a text from him saying that he got into community college. He's going there in the fall. And that was just so uplifting and hopeful. And I just was so also just happy he shared that information with me. Like he just didn't see me as someone that was, helping. I'm glad he called me for transportation and court, but just also to share that celebration. But that really stuck with me because, seniors in high school, you're going on to the next chapter of your life, and his chapter could have been put to an end real fast. And so for him just to get into college, and that's what he wanted to do, and to get into the program he wanted, it just, that was the highlight of my week.
That's awesome.
And we have a lot of stories like that too.
Yeah.
Do you have one that sticks out for you, Asia?
I do. Last year, it was almost the end of the day, the work day. I was getting ready to leave, and a young woman came in, and she said, and usually people don't just pop up at the office. We get a call or we get an email. she actually came down to the Detroit Justice Center and said, I need your help. And I was tired. I was ready to go, but I could see the desperation in her eyes. And I said, tell me what's going on. And she said that her fiance was incarcerated for on $1,000 bond. And she gave me the circumstances. She told me what happened. And instead of waiting to do an interview with him, I interviewed her, and he called her, and I talked to him on the phone, and I got him out that day in time for Father's Day for him to be home with his children. The Bail Project actually had a Father's Day event last year, so he was able to attend the event. Journalists came, they interviewed him, and just the look on his face being with his children and knowing that had she not come to the office and we stepped in, he would still be sitting in jail and missing out on Father's Day, missing out on time with his children, he got a job shortly after he was bailed out, a great job. And just to think that $1,000 stood between him and his freedom, which to a lot of people, $1,000 is nothing. But most Americans don't have an extra $400 lying around for an unplanned emergency. So that is an economic hardship for sure. But I love bringing people home, especially when they have a baby on the way. We had a woman who was pregnant. We were able to bring her home so that she could have her baby safe and sound in a hospital, not be in shackles, not having officers standing in the hospital room while she gave birth. Those are the stories that really stand out to me.
You guys are doing good work. It's thebailproject.org, and that hopefully will lead to you guys, right? Yes. And, you know, we're going to get the word out. Anybody watching, listening, please share this episode. If you know any criminal defense attorneys, they should all know about this project. They should have your phone numbers on speed dial because nobody should be sitting in jail. Freedom should be free.
Absolutely.
That's your logo. I like it. I think you have T-shirts that say that.
We do.
I want one. I'm going to buy one.
No, we're going to bring you one.
Oh, no. I'm buying one.
We're going to bring you a T-shirt and a hoodie.
A hoodie.
Yes.
I like myself a good hoodie. You ladies are lovely, and I can't be really proud of you, but I'm thrilled that there's people like you willing to do this type of work. It's meaningful. I hope my daughters grow up to do this kind of stuff, this kind of social justice work. You're not doing it for the money. You're not doing it for a long-term job. You're not doing this for a great pension. You're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it to help people. And that makes me happy for our future with all this crazy stuff going on these days. This is a bright light. This is an amazing organization. From everything I can tell, I highly recommend people go through your national website. At the end of the first page is a 13, 14-minute TED Talk from your founder, which I thought was very enlightening. Anybody who doesn't know anything about bail and how bad it is should definitely look into that. And I'm hoping that Detroit will be one of another city that puts you guys out of work.
They were going to come work for you.
You know what? You're both hired. And that's on tape, I think. If Rocky hit the tape button, you're both hired here. I'd be honored and privileged to have people like you work at the firm and helping my clients. So nice to meet you both.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for coming on. Stay in touch.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we will be talking again soon.
Sounds good.
You never know who you're going to see.
I beat one guy one-on-one my whole career. It's timing. It's for the clinching goal to bring the trophy back.
What you're going to hear.
We got a lot of desperate people in the city. They're desperate because they don't have opportunity.
Or what they've got to say.
When you can take people inside of a crime, show them things they wouldn't normally see.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's what you're going to hear on my podcast, Open Mic. Find it where you find your podcasts.
Thank you for watching another episode of Open Mic. This time we were tackling the bail issue. Click on some of these boxes over my head to subscribe, to watch some more interesting videos and podcasts. Share this with your friends, subscribe, comment, and stay tuned for another episode of Open Mic. Thank you.